Working the overnight shift at Riverside Storage wasn't glamorous, but it paid my bills while I finished community college. The job was simple: sit at the front desk from 11 at night until 7 in the morning, monitor the security cameras, and make sure nobody broke into the units. Most nights were dead quiet. I'd study for exams, watch movies on my laptop, maybe walk the hallways once or twice. The previous guy had lasted 3 years without incident. My manager assured me it was the easiest job I'd ever have. He was wrong. My first week was exactly what I expected. Boring, quiet, perfect for studying. I'd see maybe 3 or 4 people the entire night, mostly small business owners grabbing inventory or contractors picking up tools. One guy who came in regularly was Mr. Brennan. Middle-aged, always polite, always arrived around 2 or 3 in the morning to access his unit on the 3rd floor. He'd stop by my desk every time, chat for 5 or 10 minutes about nothing important. Ask me about school, what I was studying, where I lived in town. I figured he was just lonely, working odd hours like me. But after a few weeks, his questions started feeling too personal. He wanted to know my class schedule when I worked, if I ever walked the floors during my shift. One night around 2 in the morning, he asked me directly, "You do rounds, right? Check the hallways?" "Yeah, once or twice a night," I told him. "What time usually?" he asked, smiling in a way that made my skin crawl. I kept it vague, depends on the night. After he left, I watched him on the cameras. He didn't go to his unit on the 3rd floor like usual. Instead, he went straight to Unit 214 on the 2nd floor. I checked the records. The unit belonged to David Brennan. Same last name. I figured it was his brother or something and tried not to think about it. A few nights later, I changed up my routine. Instead of walking the floors at 3 in the morning like I normally did, I went at 1:30. The 2nd floor hallway was dead silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. When I reached Unit 214, I heard something that made me freeze: scraping, metal on concrete, then heavy breathing like someone struggling with something massive. I stopped walking, the sound stopped too. My heart hammered in my chest as I knocked on the metal door. Security check, everything okay in there? Silence stretched for what felt like forever. Then Mr. Brennan's voice came through, but it sounded different, strained. "Yeah, just reorganizing some things." "Need me to help you open the door?" I asked. "No, I'm fine, almost done." I walked back to the desk, but my hands were shaking. Something was very wrong. I pulled up the camera footage and watched him leave 30 minutes later. His clothes were filthy and he carried a heavy duffel bag. He didn't stop to chat like he always did. He just left, keeping his head down. I checked the records again. David Brennan, the owner of Unit 214, hadn't been here in over 6 months. Only Michael had been coming. My stomach twisted. The next night, my manager was waiting when I arrived. His face was pale. "Police were here today," he said. "Someone reported a smell from the 2nd floor." My blood went cold. "Unit 214, he continued. "They need a warrant to open it, but they are getting one tomorrow." I told him everything, about Michael Brennan, about the sounds I heard, about the duffel bag. His face went white. He immediately called the police back. While we waited, I pulled up the security footage from the past month. There it was, clear as day. Michael Brennan entering Unit 214 over and over. One clip showed him dragging something large and rolled up, like a carpet. Another showed him leaving with a bag of cleaning supplies. My hands shook as I watched. The police arrived in less than 20 minutes. I watched on the cameras as 2 officers went upstairs with my manager. They cut the lock on Unit 214 and opened the door. Both of them stepped back immediately. One officer grabbed his radio and started talking fast. Within minutes, more cars arrived. Detective vehicles. A crime scene van. A detective came down to interview me at the front desk. I told him everything. About Michael Brennan's late-night visits, about the sounds I heard, about the duffel bag. The detective's face was grim. David Brennan's body was in that unit, he said. Been there for months. We believe his brother Michael killed him, probably over money or property. Michael had been coming back to move things around, clean up evidence. My hands shook as I realized what I had heard that night. The scraping, the grunting. He was moving his brother's body. The night you knocked on that door, the detective continued, you probably saved your own life. He knew you were getting suspicious. That's why he stopped coming. They caught Michael Brennan 3 days later at the airport, trying to board a flight to Mexico with his brother's identification and bank cards. I quit that job the next week. Some easy money just is not worth it. I was broke fresh out of college with student loans crushing me. So when I saw the posting for a night security guard at a downtown office complex, I didn't hesitate. The building was 12 floors of tech startups and financial firms, all glass and steel, barely 5 years old. My job seemed simple enough. Patrol every 2 hours, check the doors, monitor security cameras from 11 at night until 7 in the morning. The pay was decent, and I'd be working alone, which suited me fine. First week was quiet, just empty hallways and the hum of fluorescent lights. I'd make my rounds, listen to podcasts, and watch the camera feeds from the security desk on the ground floor. Nothing unusual ever happened. That changed during my second week. I was reviewing the camera feeds around 3 in the morning when I noticed the elevator on the 8th floor kept opening and closing by itself. I checked the maintenance logs on the computer, but there were no issues reported. I figured I should check it out, so I took the elevator up. When I got there, the doors were functioning perfectly normal. I pressed the button a few times, watched them open and close smoothly, then headed back downstairs. But when I reviewed the footage later, I saw those elevator doors had been opening and closing continuously for 20 minutes straight, from 2:45 until 3:15. The next night, same thing happened. Same floor, same time. I reported it to the day shift supervisor when my shift ended. He shrugged it off, said the sensors were probably acting up. But this building was only 5 years old. Everything was supposed to be state-of-the-art. The third night, I watched the live feed more carefully. At 2:50, the elevator doors on 8 opened. Through the camera, I saw what looked like a hand holding the door from inside. My stomach dropped. I immediately switched views and ran back through the recording. The hand wasn't there. I'd seen it with my own eyes on the live feed, but the recording showed an empty elevator. Fourth night, I decided I wasn't going to sit at that desk and watch screens anymore. I needed to see this for myself. At 2:55, I was standing in the 8th floor hallway staring at that elevator. The doors opened right on schedule. The elevator was completely empty, the doors closed. Then I heard footsteps behind me in the hallway. I spun around fast, my hand going to my flashlight. Nobody there. Every office door was locked, all the lights were off. The footsteps came again, closer now, coming from the direction of the stairwell. My heart was pounding hard. "Security, identify yourself," I called out. My voice echoed down the empty hallway. Silence. I walked slowly toward the stairwell door, my radio in one hand. I pulled the door open and looked down. The stairwell was empty, but I could hear footsteps going down fast, floor after floor. I grabbed my radio. "This is Jake. I need building management on the line now." They patched me through. I explained what was happening, trying to keep my voice steady. They told me to stay calm while they reviewed the cameras. 2 minutes felt like 20. Finally, they called back. "Jake, you're the only person in the building. All cameras show no one else entered tonight. Every entry point is secure." I went back to the security desk, trying to make sense of it. I pulled up every camera feed, checking each floor methodically. Everything was empty. At 3:30, I saw movement on the 9th floor camera. A figure was standing at the window with his back to the camera. I hadn't patrolled 9th floor yet. I grabbed my flashlight and pepper spray and took the elevator up. The doors opened onto darkness, just the emergency exit lights glowing dimly. I moved down the hallway toward the window where I'd seen the figure. When I got there, nobody was around. The window was locked from the inside. Then every light on the floor cut out at once, including the emergency lights. Complete darkness. I heard breathing that wasn't mine very close to me. I fumbled for my flashlight and clicked it on. In the beam 3 feet away stood a man in a business suit. He was staring directly at me with a completely blank expression. I stumbled backward. "Who are you?" I shouted. He didn't respond. He didn't even blink. I grabbed my radio, called for police, keeping the flashlight trained on him. Then slowly his mouth curved into a smile. He turned and walked straight toward the locked window. "Stop!" I yelled. He walked through the glass like it wasn't even there and vanished. I ran to the window, still locked. No damage, no broken glass. I was shaking so hard I could barely hold my radio. Police arrived 15 minutes later. They searched the entire building top to bottom. Nobody found. We reviewed the security footage together in the security office. The footage showed me on the 9th floor, alone, shining my flashlight at empty space, talking to nothing. No man in a suit appeared on any camera. The officers exchanged looks. One of them suggested maybe I was exhausted from working nights. They left. Building management fired me the next day, said I had mental health concerns, and abandoned my post for a non-emergency. 2 weeks later, I couldn't let it go. I started researching the building's history online. That's when I found it. 8 years ago, before the current building existed, a corporate executive jumped from the 9th floor window of the old building that stood on the same site. He'd embezzled millions and was about to be exposed. He jumped at 3 in the morning. They demolished that building and built the new one. I realized what I'd seen might have been some kind of digital glitch, old security footage, somehow embedded in the new system when they reused the underground cabling. The figure was residual data playing back on loop. That would explain why he appeared at the same time, same floor. It was logical. It made sense. But it didn't explain the footsteps I heard in that hallway. It didn't explain the breathing in the darkness right next to me. And it definitely didn't explain why that man smiled at me before he walked through solid glass.